This video is about what to look out from the mitzvot, the 613 religious obligations in Judaism based on 10 commandments, if you keep a dog as a former tool. But you can watch it as well to have a Gentile sneak peek in our culture. I'm not a rabbi, I don't have the smicha, but I can read, I'm Shomer Shabbos, and I have dogs. An assistant dog, sir, for epilepsy, and a much younger that jumped down. That would be the successor in the hopefully far future. I previously uploaded the video more centered about passages in the Torah. As the info card link has been muted in my channel, you can find it under my playlist English videos or with keyword search in BitChute. Rabbis and rabbis are in Judaism cited as reference like Immanuel Kant or Aristoteles, are cited in philosophy. Besides the Tanakh, there was always the oral tradition, the Mishnah Torah, which was later recorded in writing. When a 3,000-year-old Torah scrolls in Qumran, Israel, had been discovered, they had been buried in earthenware vessels. As it was written in the Mishnah Torah, demands the Mishnah Torah, so there are chances, good chances that, like the Torah in those archaeological finds, the roots of the Mishnah had been the same since 3,000 years. In the Middle Ages, works from Archimedes, Homer, not the Simpsons, and so on, they had been lost in the European mainland. Since the Church Father Augustinus and the Imam Ibn Qasim Islam called mathematics the work of the devil. But we had the conservation of culture by Islam, which means the preservation of those texts in some Christian monasteries in Ireland. And to counter the trend of culture loss, rabbis like Maimonides, Rashi, or rabbis like Bruria started to write down the Mishnah. The Mishnah was not kept safe in Irish monasteries by Catholic monks for Islam. That we did ourselves. Then there is the book collection which the title The Student, Talmud, in which several partially opposite oppositions of these clever minds are to find. Typical is in the middle age of the page a reference text surrounded by text fields with commentary. If a true case, for example a crime that happened is cited, you find the argumentation of the defense and why the prosecutor dismantled these arguments later, and the reason herefore is to be prepared for the chutzpah of criminals. So you find single pages with translations only showing the convicted criminal's argument in some funny pages. For example, I typed 3 words in a search engine of an enterprise that is Project Veritas exposed. And I found several pages that had the photograph of the heinous argumentation of a pedophile rapist that concluded that was like nothing. To be clear, the argumentation of the later condemned criminal is indeed in the Talmud. But the dismantling, rebuttal of the persecution is left out on these funny pages, and the condemnation of torture's first-degree murder also. To repeat the successful conclusion of the whole quite known case. First, I'm sorry for YouTuber censors that I have to no nice words for rapists. According to the Talmud, the case winning argument is that on the physical plan only, the moral, ethics, and psychological terror comes also then described, but to be short, if only for the physical aspect. The decision was that a pedophile rape is comparable to sticking the thumb through the eye into the brain pan of the victim. I invite you to check the complete text. I summarize the most respected interpretations regarding dogs like this. Respect the dog as a dog that wants to be a dog. So, no beauty contests, no coloring in a pink zebra the dog, and no credit cards or suits for dogs. There are in Judaism no diversity inclusion courses against unconscious bias of white hetero dogs. The lack of LGBT education of especially white dogs is systemic. But the bone that is left over from the Shabbos meal, a dog has the right to that bone in halacha. Keep in mind, chicken bones are dangerous for dogs. They splinter in their throat, and making animals suffer is forbidden in Judaism. Before giving from the table, learn the bathing method. That's not buying ready cooked bathing. It's about what food can be toxic for dogs, like 100% chocolate or bicarbonate or mushrooms would kill a dog instantly. Today we have an insight into genetics of dogs. In contrast of Moshe ben Maimon, the famous Rabbi Maimonides from the 48th century, around 1100, who was also a physician of the Caliph in Egypt, and wrote recommendations for the 11th century medicine. Nobody applies today. Harming yourself is forbidden, and medicine progressed in the last 900 years. The message by Maimonides is: if you use your brain, instead of praying only, go to a doctor. If you use your sechel, you would understand that. A dog can and wants to learn from its boss dog. And Wolf is convinced that you are the super dog, with deficiencies like no sense of smell, and except of soccer players, you don't understand the principle of a group running after a ball. Dog logic. This need to learn is genetically programmed by the allele CTNND2 that we humans further by breeding dogs, because we have the same proteinic acid chain in our DNA. So we thought, oh, sympathetic. Therefore, in Mishpatim, there are no second chances for a bull attacking human beings, because you can't teach them. You can't teach them anything. For cows are relatively intelligent, but without CTNND2, they aren't really trainable. That's why we all heard of a circus elephant, a circus monkey, a circus Homo sapiens called clown. But I never heard about a circus cow spritzing milk through a loop on fire. A dog that is snappy must be on a leash, in Mishnah Torah chapter 5. In Kanaya Kashur Bishalchelet. If permitted, dog is on a leash, and not just because, and check it. There's given a reason. Mipnei shehasakan meruva matsui. Because the things mentioned by the sages. In the context with our chapter 5, which has the title Property Damage. What can it be? And let's be honest, there are poorly behaved dogs that go postal when the Polish mailman arrives. In addition, the full sentence that comes before the because mipnei is Arur magdil klavim v'chaserim mipnei she'asakam meruva umatsui. Damn these people who magdil grow up, don't raise them, don't train, but simply gadol means big. So the magdil, the dog learns nothing, is neglected, but becomes only bigger, and such a dog surely curses its owner. Mipnei, because with the frustrated dog, every dog owner knows that, shreds the sofa, and nibbles on the leather-bound sitter, and eats the cat with the mailman's trousers as dressing. Bad dog, very bad dog. By the way, it's also called chazerim, pigs. There have been truffles, pigs, I don't know. And if you want to learn and appreciate the opinion about the dogs Rashi and Rambam observed at their time, maybe consulting documentation which kind of dog existed is useful. The first list of dog breeds in the Renaissance is only 15 breeds long, and the paintings in the Middle Ages of dogs, they are giant mutts that go hunting for bears, not gummy bears, but real grizzlies. It's understandable that during this period, such monsters are only allowed for border patrols and at a chain leash. And there's also staying in the Mishnah that you can let them without leash in the night when nobody's outside. So if you use your sechel, you don't do that today. In the Mishnah with the Caliph Russia, the hint is given that people got killed by robbers in night in very isolated areas and needed therefore protection, meaning pikuach nefesh. Rabbi Jacob Emden, a German in the 18th century, also refers to this exception of having an awful dog, Caliph Russia. But as Germans like Emden think quite quadratic, I know that because I was born in Germany, he forgets that Shabbat 90b and Gemara Bava Batra 20a, the tradition of holding domestic animals because it's nice, is mentioned and also praised the calming effect of difficult children. So instead of Ritalin for every malfunctional girl, also known as boys, go spielen mit der Käfer. And after running around concentration to learn Torah, perfect. Also, the argument not to mingle like the Gentiles that Eden gives is typical German self-centered, as the opposite was the case in living among Islamic Gentiles, and I don't believe in closing up as helping to maintain identity, more in embracing your identity by knowing it. Otherwise, it's too easy to be overwhelmed by unknown temptations, because you are not sure why you do mitzvahs, and then you have a missionary and you don't know. I would have, for example, bought a German Shepherd that learned nothing and sits on the sofa and would call that beast then only for the pleasure Adolf, that I can say Adolf was again shitting on the sofa. Adolf, you always drinking from the toilet, now sitting on the sofa. But that would be against all rules of hygiene. And comparing Nazis to dogs led to the humorist Count Dankula being incarcerated. Strangely, Nazis don't show tolerance being compared to a pug, but excuse then the incarceration with helping us Jews. Back to the Middle Ages, Rabbi Yishmael in Bava Batra 80a11 writes that having dogs that don't intimidate people are permissible as they help to exterminate the rats and vermin, and these dogs were called kufri. For a contemporary example, the city of Paris has now, in the beginning of the 57th century, the years following 2000, intelligently made a leash muzzle for all dogs in the city center obligatory, and cats should stay indoors. And oh wonder, there's a rat infestation. How come? Rabbi Rashi, in France Middle Ages, who worked as a wine producer, what else does a Frenchman, is also a very well-known commentator who assumes small dogs are more likely to become kufri dogs, small in the 11th century. So smaller than a beer slayer. And I am confident that Rashi did not refer to a Shih Tzu or Yorkshire Terrier, because there was many. And because of not stupid, there are explanations from the authors to the first glance strange rule that kufri is a dog that does not bite or and not bark. But all dogs bark. So let's see. So biting bodily harm is prohibited. But barking, that needs for anybody who's seen more than one dog of a TV show clarification. And we find there indeed an example that for a dog owner reading the whole text is logic. Of course, dogs have teeth that go very deep in the jaw, so you cannot use the tooth, cord, and box door method. And tearing a dog's teeth without anesthesia, which didn't exist in the Middle Ages, is actually forbidden as it violates Bal Tzachim, no to animal cruelty. Any obligations are overridden only in order to save human lives. No restriction with humans, because human lives matter. These facts knowing, if one then reads in Baba Kama Daf 83a8 that someone believes that they are making their dog harmless by tearing the fangs out, that will have the opposite result. The dog is guaranteed to be crazy after that, and the crazy hound, agonized by the permanent pain of a broken jaw that has the size of a calf, jumps out in the dark of the corner, barking wildly in front of your face. That can stop your heart or provoke a miscarriage if you are a woman. Think, for example, on police dogs that are, without pulling their teeth out, trying to make the most brutal criminals pee in their pants, whereby German Shepherds and Malinois are used not because they're sitting on the sofa, but they are born actors that switch on command from pure terror into a man's best friend. The example of a pregnant woman who had a miscarriage after a traumatized giant dog unexpectedly widely dashes in her face is there in Bava Kama given. Thus, it's mentioned that his dog's teeth were pulled out by the owner, who justifies himself that the dogs can't bite, so he thought it's pikuach nefesh. It's stupid to be dumb, but an intersectional quality of everyone to be stupid. With this example, there is the statement that a good dog does not bite and does not bark, in a manner illustrated by that story that makes sense. Otherwise, reading that with a Verstand as die Wand, the next idiot thinks of devocalizing the dog additionally. In my humble opinion, Rashi Shlomo Luria refers to that kind of situation in Yamchet Shlomo Baba Kama 745, while in Shulchan Aruch Harav in Rosh Mishpat 409.3 also the difference is made between vicious Rasha and acceptable kafri dog. Rabbi Shlomo Luria allows pious and responsible people to own a dog, even if the dog barks. Assuming Luria was an intelligent rabbi, he would have realized, like any dog owner that there are different types of dog barking, growling, etc., and ruled therefore that permission for dog owners that are not schmendricks, somebody taking by the mitzvot command ethics seriously, as successful to train his dog to become kufri. Watch dog videos and make the modification accordingly. Personally, I recommend there are excellent documentaries about wolves. Since there are wolves in the US and in Russia, you will find this documentary mainly in Russian or English, but you don't have a vacation watcher with a specialist opinion like French, but a long-time observer. Feel free to intimidate a wolf or imitate the wolf towards your dog. What do you think Shlomo HaMelech used to talk to animals? Yiddish?